Hmm, snow's starting to get away. I better start thinking about what I'm going to plant for native wild grasses and wildflowers and shrubs this year. Hmm, there it is.
Ooh, baby. I think I'll go to the library though.
Hey, how you doing? Bob Folks here for the Gilligallou. Just jumped in the truck. We're going to run to the Elmont Library. We're going to check out a few things about some native wild grasses, shrubs, and wildflowers to enhance our yard. And what I really wanted to talk about was, you may remember a few weeks ago, I had my friend, the Wild Yam Jen, on our YouTube channel. And we talked about her naturalizing, letting an area of her lawn naturalize itself. What's that mean exactly? So she had some areas in this particular yard that were a little bit shaded. Nothing grew there very well, and you've heard me say many times before about the types of grasses and stuff that we try to grow here aren't necessarily, boy, is it ever raining? Can you hear that? Aren't necessarily well suited for this climate. And what's brought this on a little bit is that I've noticed lately some advertising for some of the local lawn care companies putting out advertising of just that. They've shown an area of a lawn that is in really bad shape. By bad shape, I mean that the weeds, what we call weeds, has taken over and diminished the lawn. And they're advertising for to come in and spray and reseed. And that's the cycle that I'm really working on raising awareness about, so that this spray for weeds, reseed cycle has to stop, because it's something that's, when we think about our gardens, and here's the thing I really want to bring out of this, I want you to take a look at your yard and maybe work with your kids, work with your grandkids, work with the peripheral of the fence lines, or an area that's underneath a tree that doesn't necessarily get a lot of, nothing really grows there because of the shade. But those are the areas that you can really sort of research to come up with solutions as to how you can naturalize or let your lawn naturalize itself. Because these plants that we're considering as weeds are obviously native, which is post-settlement now when we talk about being native. So early 1800s into mid 1800s and so on. That's the time period of a lot of these plants were brought here by the settlers from Europe and what have you. But look at those areas that you can, one, let it naturalize, and then two, that you can research to plant and make it a thing for your family and for your grandkids and things, that you can start to raise the awareness of the kids, raise your own awareness in certain areas, because we're always learning, no matter who we are or where we are, we're always learning. And then you can allow some of those plant matters. But here's the key. It's sort of like food. I use this analogy with food. Louise and I have been doing some things with some food lately and trying to raise our awareness there. As we've grown in this Western society with food, it's less about fueling our body and more about the pleasure of the food. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about that. I love food, I love to cook, I love experimenting with different things and what have you, but our awareness has got away from that a little bit over the course of the winter in terms of thinking about food as a fuel. Instead, we've been using food as a pleasure mechanism. We have to eat, obviously, but we've been enhancing our diets and what have you with food from a non-fueling perspective. So why do I say it like that? Well, if you think about your yard, do you plan your yard, your plants, your vegetation and things that you put in based on what it will support? Or you put it in based on what looks good and what might be pretty and what the guy at the nursery said and I have no malicious intent toward anybody about this, including the nursery people, landscape people, all that kind of stuff. This is about raising our awareness and becoming more aware of and in tune with living in harmony with nature. And if we can use the peripheral areas of our yards to enhance habitat, it's going to make our life more pleasurable because of the creatures that we're going to attract. And diminish the stigma that I feel that people have given towards bugs and weeds and all kinds of things that people have been hypnotized to learn about. Grass, as an example, though, and you've heard me say this many times as well, is a monoculture. It supports nothing. And in the agricultural industry, we're seeing change there, where there's now habitat being created in lanes in the masses of the fields to create habitat that's going to increase pollination, which is going to increase yield, which is going to decrease expense because they're not having to use as much fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides, because they're letting the natural laws of nature take place. And that's something we can do around our house. So let's head off to the library, see what's what, and see what we can get for some really cool books at the Elmont Library. Stay tuned, be with me. Well, here we are at the Elmont Library here in the municipality of Mississippi Mills. We're going to talk to the girls here. We'll find out we got a few different resources that are available to us on some natural grasses and wildflowers and things, and we're going to check that out. It's going to be a fun little bit. Hey everybody, how you doing? Bob Oakes here for the Gilligallou. We're just in at the Elmont Library today here in Mississippi Mills. I have Monica here with me. She's going to help us explain a few things, but we've dug out a few books and a few things on this native grasses and naturalizing your yard and what have you that we wanted to talk about. But first, we maybe should learn a little bit about the library. What's going on here, Monica?
Okay, well, we're always a busy place.
Yes.
Spring is extra busy.
Yes.
People start thinking about gardening and start taking up books in December
Yeah,
to start planning
they're
their
planning their gardens.
Yeah, and Karen Kitty, who is out of our Pakenham library, runs our seed library. She's gung-ho right now with workshops, and the seeds are out and packaged and ready to go.
So you mentioned the seed library. What is that really?
The seed library is a collection of seeds that come from seed distributors. They're kind enough to send them at no
local
cost.
distributors, or
Local, and there's
like Ontario Seed
from
Company, or
Ontario. I don't know what companies particularly, but I know that there are some from the Maritimes and some from Vancouver. They send their spare seeds.
Very nice.
Which is great. Also, the whole premise of the seed library is that people borrow the seeds, plant it in their garden, harvest it in the fall,
and then replenish.
And then return them.
That's a cool program.
Which is really great, and people have really caught on to that.
So in your 5th year with that, you were saying?
It's our 5th year.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, they just celebrated their 5th birthday, so that's great.
And how long have you been in the library, Monica?
I've been here 31 years.
31 years.
Mm-hmm.
31 years. That's
31
awesome.
years.
Good for you. That's fantastic. So you've been around the corners here a couple times.
A few times.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. A few times. Know most of the books by their covers. So
very good. Well, we got talking to the right gal, I'd say,
Yeah.
by the looks of things. We really wanted to talk about this. And then the Horticultural Society out back here has a garden that they've been running for a number of years.
They do. It's a beautiful flower garden. And this past fall, they've decided that they're going to refurbish it. They're pulling it all out and creating some berms and making it a pollinator garden. So we're excited.
We're all in the same vein here. We're creating habitat so that our native grasses and plants and flowers and things can flourish, and that the pollinators can do the work that they need to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about, really. So.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
Thank you very
One thing
much.
I should mention too, that we have a great collection of gardening books. A lot of them are out right now.
Yep.
But if we don't have a specific subject that you're looking for, we have interlibrary loan, which accesses all the libraries across Ontario. It's a little tricky when it's a seasonal topic to get it from another library because their own patrons want it.
Out at the same, everybody's in the same thought process.
Yeah, that's right. But
that's a neat feature, though, that you can all across the province. You can
all across the province.
And so, if I wanted a specific book and it was found in Hamilton, it would be shipped here for me.
It would. Yeah.
As I was mentioning earlier, I did a couple of little Instagram stories there as we were coming in, and I said that, that in today's world, with the online world and Mr. Google and all those things, some of these resources get lost, and people overlook them because they think it's a thing of the past.
That's right.
Where it is indeed not. Yeah. So that's great. Well, I really appreciate it, Monica, and we're going to take a look at a couple of these books.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for coming.
You bet.
Okay.